Okay, we're watching TTAC. I don't have a ton of time. There are two exciting games happening right now. One is Dredaz versus Seto, and the other is Delial versus Sergio. As this game has advanced further, I think it's the one I want to keep a greater eye on. Deli has gone with this 7-6-3 pair, though interestingly, he went for 3-6-7-4 when the kind of 7-6-3-2s have a little more ability to plus wall each other, and I think there's a case for 7-6-4-2s there. Sergio also went with 1-7-6-3-2, which we can see in 3, and a 7-6-5 opposite, which we can see in 9. I'm a little less convinced of opposites on this rule set just because they have a tough time taking each other. We can also see fundamentally that Sergio has his play has been organized towards strength, right? He has played with high numbers facing out, while Deli's play has been organized towards using his weakest cards first. Let's check in on the other game. Should also open my thing to input moves because Seto doesn't send moves along, and this is slightly annoying, but more annoying if it's for tournament games because it's really nice to have a complete tournament record, I think. And yeah, it'd be a huge shame to lose. So we have a TTAC 15 round one. TTAC 15 round one. This is the open game, and we have Dredaz, Seto. I'll put in rule sets later. Oh, I should have input Dalamar, Frodo, um, and we have Delial, Sergio, where Delial does find a way to go in 5 and to use a big card. Um, Now he had 2-3-6-5 in 6, but I assume 3-1-2-6 and 5 was a good rejoinder. Seems like it would be. So instead, what he does is he sets up 3-6-7-4 to have a major threat in 2. Now, what happens if Sergio blocks 6? He presumably walks into big combos through 2, and he does not have a sufficient reply in 4. Does that check out? That's the story Delial's telling me. Do I believe it? I do believe it. I think Sergio cannot go in 6. Can he go in 4? Well, if he goes in 4, he's going to take 7. He's going to go up 6-4. And Deli's going to go in 6 and has blocked the response in 5 very cleverly, right? He saw a line and he blocked the problem square. And that's going to make it 5-5, and Deli will have a really powerful sweeper at the end there. Notably, Sergio does not have 2. Just checking in on the other game. So this looks like a great move from Deli to me. Um, there might be something in 2, there might be something in 1, but this seems to me like a very powerful move and the kind of move you get to when you're like, I want to go 6, but they respond in 5. Can I block 5? And 5's a somewhat non traditional square, but it makes sense as you look through lines to come up with new moves. There's this idea in chess spread by a guy named Kotov that he has a book called Think Like a Grandmaster. And he talks about this kind of order of operations to how you should come up with your moves. And he has these steps to it where, like, first you select candidate moves. Then you go through your candidate moves, calculating each one from simplest to most complex. At the end of each one, you evaluate it. And at the end of evaluating all moves, you play your move. And there's some more steps to it, but that's the basic concept. And I think this just turns out to be wrong. This is just not a good way to think, and we can see it here, right? I don't think in the initial position, I mean, I certainly wouldn't, but I don't think Delhi would either. Delhi would have 7-2-3-6-5 and 5 as a candidate move, right? But it's a move you find once you have 2-3-6-5 and 6 as a candidate move. It can lead you to looking for 5. Now, maybe for whatever reason he was looking at 5 anyway, but it's not a traditional 5 like combo setting move. It sets up 1 square, it sets up 2. It doesn't set up 4, it doesn't set up 6. But it doesn't need to, because it needs to block 5 while being able to reply to 6. And so I honestly I think this is an awesome move. Really cool to just turn it on and see a move, turn on a game and see a move like this. But I think it's the kind of move you don't get to with Kotov's method, right? This is not thinking like a grandmaster as the 50s understood it. This is thinking better than that grandmaster at least. This is yeah. Sergio tries to complicate. We haven't calculated much, but this makes sense as an attempt because I think Deli's move was fantastic. And this sort of leaves a bunch of paired squares where it's not clear Deli's cards will be good in all the paired squares. And specifically, it gives Sergio 4, but not 2. And you need to have 2 because 3, 6, 7, 4 is dead in 4. So I think Deli can just play 6 now. I think Deli can just play 6. Check in on the other game because Seto is known to play fast, so we want to catch this. Kind of cool that Seto and Deli are playing at the same time. This is not to disrespect their opponents or anything. Like, I think Sergio took a big risk here using his powerful cards early, but it kind of took a spectacular card in 5 for this to go wrong. So, and I think trying to complicate with a move like 1 is, generally speaking, the right concept. There may have been a tie here in the kind of limited time I looked. I didn't see it. So this is just a game where you play against someone who's playing a just genuinely special move in 5. And then on the other hand, Dredaz is a newly returned player. He's been playing a lot of the GBs. You can see, very solid player, but obviously Seto is large favorite. And has gone with this 7-3-2-1 pair. This hand looks very similar to the one, well, kind of mix of the hands that Dalamar and Proto use, but making sure to have a 7 in every direction. Interesting stylistically. Seto's valuing balance, right? He's saying, I want a 7 in every direction. Delial, as contrast, is saying 2-3-6-5. That's a really good card. 4-6-3-1. That's a really good card. I have the 7 6s. I'm going to grab 1 7 with this card and 7 in another direction, but I don't need to have a 7 in each direction. I'm going to go for powerful cards like the 2-3-6-5 and the 6-4-3-1 types. Little surprised he didn't go for a 6-4-3-2, but I'm sure there's some synergy he had in mind, or he just likes that card for whatever reason. Seto goes for a capture in 2, and I think this is kind of, this is going to sound weird to say. It's because I've been reading a bunch of chess history recently. I actually haven't been reading about Think Like a Grandmaster, but it just came to mind with a Delial's move. But every time there's kind of someone starts doing something that is not quite what people are doing at the time, they go, yes, this is the modern school of chess. We have advanced and evolved the game, right? And every time it turns out like, nah, people were doing this, like at some point it was discovered, but it's kind of way before we give credit for it. We kind of don't treat the past as real people with real brains. And there's definitely stuff that wasn't discovered, but there's lots that was, and we tend to miss that. And a lot of the popular versions of chess history do miss that. So my point here was I think of capturing corner starters as a relatively modern form of play. I think it's something MC did a lot, and the really good open players when I started playing very rarely did it. Like, this was not a common part of the arsenal. And it now is something I think of MC as the first person doing it a lot. I now do it a lot. Akiyama does it a lot. Seto's doing it here. Delial does it a chunk. Delial does everything a chunk. So when I say, players didn't do it, obviously Delial did it some amount of the time because it turns out he does everything some amount. But I think it was fairly rare. I think it was kind of something beginners did, but advanced players didn't. And we've now reached a stage where advanced players have come around to doing it, but doing it well, right? Not doing it in beginnery ways. And so it turns out it's just hard to justify a corner starter. And if you start with kind of like first principles, you get to like, oh, it allows a really easy early lock in. It concedes an advantage very early to first turn without trying to fight to it. But then the more kind of advanced and what I would like to describe as more modern play is yes, it concedes that, but often the person playing the card to have to recapture is making a major concession as well. Dredaz has two ways to capture, one of which walks into a same, and thus you could calculate that further, but it is, unlikely to work. And one thing I notice is 7, 6, 3, 2, and 6, samed in 5. If you then recapture with 7, 2, 3, 6, and 9, that will be samed again in 8 by 3, 6, 7, 2. And at that point, I'm not going to calculate further. So 7, 2, 3, 6, and 6 seems like the recapture. And we may notice seto has a plus there as well, which in 5 with 7, 2, 3, 6, Brachiosaur. Or with 6, 1, 4, 3, which is his more likely idea. So we can just see there, we can see this way of there is combo concepts, and it just can be difficult to justify doing something like that. So I kind of think we may not have given enough attention here, but it is perfectly possible Deli has played a kind of masterpiece and really exemplary game. I think that looked pretty brilliant from what we saw. I think that move in 5 is not the normal move, but one you get to by this logical type of thinking that really shows a masterly angle on the game. Really like that game. We're now going to close that one. I should go see if they posted move orders, and I should congratulate Deli, because I think that move in 5 was likely just a brilliant move. And now we're seeing Seto using combo initiative to play against Dredaz. Now, Dredaz has a lot of up power, which faces the game well. However, it means he doesn't have something great to sneak into 1. And I think often in these positions, when they're going wrong, you just kind of play 1 and hope. And that's a difficult thing to do here. One curious feature of the position is 7, 2, 3, 6, and 9 is actually safe. So it is conceivable that is a reasonable way to play, though also stuff like 1, 2, 3, 7, and 5 sets up infinite combos against it, and it is probably not a reasonable way to play. Alright, so let's see what the move order was on the Deli game. Alright, 8, 3, 7. 8, 3, 7, 9. So I've closed the game now, but 7, 6, 5, 1 went in 9. 3, 2, 7, 6 went in 3. I should reopen the game. I should not get this wrong by guessing. I'm right on those, but I should not get this wrong. 4, 6, 3, 1, 8, and 2, 5, 1, 7, 7. Yeah. I think just a brilliant game by Deli there. Congratulate him. I know I talk about how inspiring I find Deli's play a lot, but is that not just like a magical way of playing? Just the kind of, they have set up combo potential against me, and just playing in this unusual square that blocks that potential. Setting up one combo for yourself, but the exact combo you need. It turns out Delial's go-to level 6 hand meets the stips, so actually we should head over and maybe see some of that. Just responding to Deli. Yeah, just really lovely game. Love seeing games like that. That's to me that's like peak triple triad. That kind of reasoning. Really glad to have caught that one. That's Deli's collection of best games is a long one, but that's elegant. Uh, Maybe there was a tie with 2 6 3 4 and one. Uh, I will check that later today because I'm supposed to be getting ready for a flight right now. But we're trying here. Let's pop open the other game. What was the third game going on? Okay, that was just a random game. Probably a GB game. All right. Um, this is the rule set I made. It's a level 6, all normal rules, and you can't use more than 2 cards with the same set of numbers. And that's a rule set where like a lot of normal level 6 hands will be viable, and I'm glad his is. Obviously, I root for Delhi. That's pretty apparent in what I do. I'm probably gonna book it after this open game ends because Seto really taking his time here, really being careful. That's interesting to see. Um, I liked seeing that. You know, I was really surprised. Like, I saw Akiyama speed playing other people. This was in Pride Wars Nephilim, quarterfinals of Nephilim. I had seen him speed playing other people and speed playing in random events, including against me, and I had thought, okay, he plays very fast, and he plays very fast against people he's confident he can beat, right? But he will slow down when playing, someone of my stature in the quarterfinals of a major, and he just didn't, and that really surprised me. And I, at the time, I think took it like in a slightly insulting way, and now I don't. But it really surprised me. I really thought there's going to be more time use here, and I do like to see more time use. I think this position with 2 3 8 is a complex position where like you want to calculate it out to a win, and you have a big advantage, but it is quite difficult to do. And there's just a lot of options to spend time on. And so, yeah, it's nice to see someone who plays as fast and is as good a calculator as Seto going, yeah, this is a position that takes some time to make sure I get right. And I like seeing that because I think that is the correct evaluation. I think even though it's a pretty clear advantage for first turn, sorry, for second turn, like Seto has a very nice position after the handling of the starter. Um, it is also a position with a lot of possibilities and a lot of appealing possibilities. Do you grab safety in 1? Do you lock in your card in 6? Do you play safely in 7 or 9? There's just so many moves that could work, and yeah, worth considering. All right, Deli has sent along his hand, so we know his hand here. Um, 4666 is presumably the setup card. Then he has the 8653 and 5386 pair. Okay. So 5386 has control of the starter in 4. 6682 and 8318. I like this as a closed hand, not that predictable. I don't look at that and think, I know what all the cards will do. So, all right. Excited to see how that works. I can stay here maybe another 20 minutes, then I really have to go. How come no one played any TTAC games till today? My busy day, not my schedule is malleable days. So I'm guessing that Deli's hand is designed around playing. I actually don't know, but I would guess 4666 and 5. Not a supernatural fit here, but not a terrible fit. Oh, 8653 also has 4. So he already has four multiple ways. So what do you want to do when you already control it multiple ways? I don't know. That one sticking out really annoys me because you can never set up anything clean there, and that creates a real difficulty. Like it's a pain to handle. Okay, he does go for 4 6 6 6 and 5. So I think we can assume this is a Balfamula build. Hmm. All right, one thing to note is 8318 now has both 4 and 8. And 8318 is probably the easiest card to put in 8 because it's very, very unlikely to be comboed. Especially because this is a principle Delial has talked about that he attributes to Akiyama as the Akiyama rule of play against whatever card the opponent just used. They probably don't have something duplicate of it. So 8318 has this 3 facing out. Now that's legally possible to combo, specifically by something like 8148, but 8148 is already out of Sergio's hand. So he can play against the card that was just used. He can say, you don't have this combo. I know you don't, because there's only like one card type that would have it, and you've already used that. There's no way you have it again. Now, sometimes in randoms, they just do have it multiple times, and occasionally you will see hands built that that have things multiple ways like that, but unlikely. Okay, Sergio takes the same. Now, I think this is a little more than just taking the same. It's also saying it's scary for you to go in 8, and it's scary for you to go in 1, right? Anything you do, if I have combo play against, is just really unpleasant for you. And I find it really difficult to play against this type of play in closed. It's not that, like, I don't think it's gonna, like, long term put up positive win rates, right? Though if you pick and choose where to do it, but it can take positions of like, oh, this is uncomfortable for me, and I'm just going to turn everything into coin flips. And it just makes everything feel kind of coin flippy. Like you play a card, and if they combo you, you probably lose. And if they don't combo you, you probably win. And if you have kept good cards for combo potential here, you are in pretty decent shape. If you have bad cards for combo potential here, you might be dead, though the bluffs might work. But in general, you are you are turning the game into something coin flippier. And I think there's ways of adapting to that that are better and worse, and I'm not particularly good at adapting. But I think like you're playing deli here and you can turn the game into coin flips, like go for it. You know, that's a very reasonable thing to do. So deli does indeed play 8 3 1 8 and 8, right? He is playing against the you don't have 9 twice, right? You already used a card that works in 9, playing the Akiyama way. I am going to play against what you just used in closed. Um, so I think that's what's going on. I'm not sure he'd term it the same way. We often phrase things differently, but this was the expected move. Now, Seto taking time thinking with 4 moves left suggests this is not straightforwardly won, because Seto is, of course, a quite fast player. I think the problem is that 7 2 3 6 and 4 doesn't work, because 3 6 7 2 landing in 5 after is well controlled by 7 2 3 6. And you don't also win after 1 2 3 7 and 6, because there's the same in 5. Um, let's check in on the other game. Sergio goes in a 3. I think this makes sense with this card specifically, right? This is a card you either can use or can't. Now, it turns out that if he had played that card in 1, I don't think Deli can take it. Yeah, if we look at Deli's hand, He does not have a way to take an 8 out in 1. But Sergio doesn't know that. So what he's doing is saying, okay, if I went in 1 and you go in 2, I just lose. So I'm going to get rid of this card that's not very good and keep my best sweepers for the top and the right. I think this is very reasonable. So I kind of like this move from Sergio. Now we missed something here, but Deli went in 9, which makes sense, right? Locks in the card in 8, which locks in 7. And Sergio, that seems like the kind of card Sergio needs to keep, right? That seems like a better sweeper for the top. But Sergio is probably trying to make sure he can hit an 8, right? He's making sure he has combo potential. He went for a lot of 8/8s. He has played 3/8/8s. So one read would be he's going to have a corner card for 3 as his last card, but he would have used that and kept the corner card for 1. Unless it's exactly like 2/4/8/8 and he thinks he can combo off an 8. On the other hand, a card that I think we could also put him on is some kind of 8/6/6. He's shown he likes that kind of card, and that's a more guaranteed sweeper, and that's something he would have kept on. So what does Deli have? We should check the other game because Seto has likely moved. Seto goes 7, 2, 3, 6, and 9. Makes sense. We'll come back to that in a moment. Deli has 5, 3, 8, 6, and 6, 6, 8, 2. Oh, but you don't want to put out the 6, 6, 8, 2 in case they have a double number. But they probably don't have a double number because they use their 2, 8, 8, 4. But they might. And if you go 5, 3, 8, 6, you are putting out a much higher number that is also comboed by stuff like 2, 8, 8, 4. And you're putting out a 6 that can be hit by the 8, 6, 2, 6 type stuff, though what would line up against it? My guess is both moves win for Deli, but it is scary because you do lose when comboed. So that's interesting. We'll come back to there. And it really depends on what you read the other person on. I'm not going like too deep on anything because we're hopping back and forth and we're in a rush and we're panicked. But but like it is Deli sent in the chat. Let's hope he doesn't have another 8/8 for 1. Like it seems unlikely. And I think that is again following the Akiyama principle, right? Which I've never heard Akiyama say. I've only heard Deli attribute it to Akiyama. But you just used your 8/8 corner, so now I'm gonna play against that, right? But yeah, 2/4/8/8 he notices would eat 5/3/8/6. I should have called that. That's another way he picks off a 6. There's a lot of ways the 6 gets hit. I think the 2 is the right choice. Um, yeah, that's a fitting card. And Sergio can have that. You know, you can have up to 2 of each card type. So Deli goes with the 2. I think this is just correct. And I think this is a good use of the Akiyama principle. And he wins or loses here, right? There's no tie. You're either comboed or you're not. Which again, and he's comboed. Ugh, that sucks. Um, well, I think Deli played great there, but I also think Sergio did a really reasonable thing, right? He kept something that could hit 8s and maybe some other stuff. Deli got really unlucky there, I think. I think he made the right call. Um, but also, Sergio made the game coin flippy, right? He made the game not easy. There's going to be low stuff. There's always going to be a chance for combo. He has last turn. He gave himself a chance to win, and it came through. So, well done to Sergio winning that game, honestly. Um, like, I do think Deli just had the advantage there, right? But, uh, but Sergio did a really good job to make it a coin flip. And maybe Deli did a good job to make it more like a 60-40 or a 2-1 in Deli's favor. Or maybe even like a 70-30 or more, I'm not sure. But the 70-30 didn't come good. All right, and we've sort of lost track of this game. But Seto has won. I've input too many moves on the game. 3, 2, 8, 9, 1. Oh, I put in a move from Deli's game. 1, 9, 5, 6, 4. And Seto does come out with the win. So, okay. Caught the open games. I guess we're probably not going to catch the rest. Deli's going to game 3, which is very scary when it can be open closed. But okay. But I think we saw some really good play. I think we saw both great play from Deli in both games, but also we saw Sergio maximize his chances of getting the upset, or raise his chances of getting the upset. And I think that was a very practically nice way to play, right? You have last turn, you have some sweepers, and one sweeper, and you're just gonna give yourself a chance to get that combo, and you're gonna make sure that combo possibility is there. So we'll call it there, and yeah, fun games there.